Hey, I'm Tom.
And I'm John.
And we're the co-founders of Handsome Frank Illustration Agency.
In this series, we'll be sitting down and talking to our illustrators, finding out more about them, their artistic process, and the creative industry we work in.
Welcome to our podcast.
Are we recording?
We are.
Morning, Tom.
We are recording. How are you?
I'm good. I went to see the Bob Dylan film last night.
Nice. It's freezing in here.
Can we put the heating on? Right, before we get started, I think we should make a pledge to change the introduction to our podcast.
Yes.
Because
it's a bit weird. It feels very. I think you were reading it on the script, and we'd never ever recorded anything before.
It was one take, wasn't it, with no scripts. So you look, if you're listening to this podcast, you'll have just heard the old intro. As of the next podcast, we will record a new one. Anyway, on with today. Very happy to have Charlie Davis with us today.
Hello.
Hi, Tom.
Hello again.
How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. It's nice to be back in the headquarters.
Well, you're often here, often spotted at HFHQ.
Yeah, it's been nice coming in on Wednesdays and hanging out with everyone.
Yeah,
We kind of fell out of that groove, but last year was really nice, sort of the Illustrator Wednesday, to have everyone come in and, not everyone, but it's just nice to have artists actually around us and see what you work on and see how you do it.
Yeah, it's been nice to create a sense of like a active buzz around what's going on as well, and see what everyone's working on. So,
but you've moved, haven't you, recently? So where are you based now? Tell people where you're based, where you're coming in from.
yes, I moved from West Hampstead over in Northwest and gone over to South Woodford, in between South Woodford and Wanstead, so
Okay.
on the central line, so it's still easy to get in.
Still a Londoner.
Yeah, I'm claiming it. A lot of people say it's an Essex border, but it's still Redbridge, so it's
On the
West
cusp.
London, yeah.
Yeah. You're on the tube, right?
Yeah, that'll do
there
it.
you go. You're in London.
That's nice.
Good stuff. Well, look, thanks for coming in to talk to us today. I think, you're obviously someone that is around the office quite often, so we talk quite a lot, but we've never got around to kind of recording a podcast with you. How long have we been working together? I was trying to work it out.
I think it was 2018.
Okay.
So it's flown by.
God, 7 years.
Yeah.
Right, yes. I remember having coffee with you in King's Cross and
That's right, yeah.
sort of looking at your folio and...
And you were working full time then, right?
I was, yeah, I just finished working at the design agency. Yeah.
Are we allowed to say who?
Yeah, that was at Design Bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were there as a graphic designer?
I was, yeah. I kind of snuck in there from uni because I studied illustration at Falmouth down in Cornwall, and I lived with some guys who were doing graphic design. And I remember in the third year, everyone was kind of going into work, getting jobs and placements and internships, and I was kind of feeling a bit adrift.
And then you got on at Design Bridge.
Well, yeah, because they did a competition for the interns at Design Bridge, and I snuck in a little project in there, and then managed to get an internship there, luckily, and then did 2 weeks there and got a job there, which was
amazing.
Yeah.
So how long were you there for in total?
I think I was there nearly 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so initially that was graphic design, but were you, I mean, presumably you were finding yourself gradually drifting into the illustrated side of things?
Yeah, so it was a designer role, but I was pretty awful at graphic design because I hadn't studied it. So
we're kind of going this the wrong way. What did you study then? Where were you at uni?
that was illustration. So it was a BA
Falmouth,
at Falmouth, yeah. Which was,
and then you got pushed into graphic design.
I think it was one of those things where illustration hasn't necessarily got a direct kind of route into like, you know, employment in the traditional sense.
Yeah, it's interesting. Sure. A lot of people we rep have come at it from different angles, but not many people have gone straight into full-time freelance off the back of university.
It was quite strange because in your final year at Falmouth, everyone was kind of figuring out how to be an illustrator basically, and how to make that work, and how to get, you know, income and live somewhere and stuff after uni. So I think it was a little bit less traditional in that sense as a degree, but then you're kind of surrounded by people in an environment where you're all going on to look for that kind of work, and you kind of...
And Falmouth's obviously got a really good reputation.
Yeah.
Some amazing people have come out of there talent-wise. But do you feel like on that course or on all courses that there was a lack of information as to how to actually put it into action and work? And
I think the course was brilliant, and being surrounded by, I mean, really talented like students who were producing really exciting work. It was just the only sense was it wasn't completely clear how that then translates into becoming your job.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, they just kind of get you ready, and then they're like, "See ya."
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Did you do new designers? Because the Falmouth are generally involved with that every year.
I think I did.
In the Islington, is it the Islington Business Centre?
Business Centre, yeah.
Had my COVID jab in there as well. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So I think I did. Yeah, new designers. I should really remember that. But
yeah. I mean, Falmouth, I think, are one of the most proactive unis in terms of. I mean, they're coming up here next month, maybe March.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, most years they come in and we review all their third year's work. But they're very proactive in that respect.
We're always looking for the next Charlie David. So.
Yeah, but that's an interesting thing you say, is that, you know, if you study graphic design, you can just go and be a graphic designer. That there's many jobs that you apply for that have the title graphic designer, but there aren't really jobs with the title illustrator at companies.
Yeah, because we used to have like guests come in for lectures, and illustrators come in who'd done stuff, you know, for well-known things like Royal Mail, or had done a job, and as a student you kind of like in awe of it, and you're drawing for something that everyone's heard of, and it's kind of very exciting at that stage because you're aspiring to have your work applied to something, you know, that can A, pay you, and B, you be out and about in the world with it. So
yeah,
it was kind of like a exciting but also quite uncertain feeling.
daunting.
Yeah.
How did you find Falmouth?
Oh, I loved it. Yeah.
Did you take up surfing?
No, I never surfed. I've never ever surfed in my life. But the guys I lived with were from Channel Islands, and they were keen surfers. And then they'd always go out and just take the mick out of me for mocking them for surfing all the time.
Nice. I mean, it seems like I've only visited once, but it seems like a fun place to go to uni. Quite cut off. Like, did you used to take the train down there, or?
I did, yeah. And it is proper out
a
of the
long
way.
journey.
It is, yeah. It's about 5-6 hours to Paddington.
Yeah.
But it was lovely studying down there just because you can walk everywhere, loads of pubs, the beaches, especially in the summer.
There's a really good brewer, isn't it? Is it Verdant?
I'm a bit out the loop.
Yeah,
but
craft beer brewery. Yeah, really nice stuff.
Yeah, and it's definitely got a kind of isolated feel to it, just because of how far away it is from the rest of the UK. So you're kind of in a bit of a bubble. But
so where did you grow up?
I was born in like Kingston area, Hounslow, Kingston. Then lived in Kingston, Teddington, then Guildford, then moved to Petersfield in Hampshire, then moved to London.
Okay, so moved around a fair bit.
Yeah.
Do you have any yearning to move back to the coast?
Yeah, there is a.
Because I think anyone that's
sea lure
lived
thing.
on the coast at some point in their life has that kind of yearning.
Yeah, I think so. It's just being there in winter is very different.
It's pretty bleak.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about Design Bridge, because I think you said you were there for 5 years, was it?
Yeah, I think 2013 I joined. I think 5 years.
And it sounds like during that time you were gradually starting to do more and more illustration. Now, obviously, they're a design agency, and we've worked with them many times. They seem to use a lot of illustration in their projects. Did you gradually become like the in-house designer, the in-house illustrator, and like how did that come about?
Yes, pretty much that. But I mean, it was interesting at first because you've gone in as a designer, so you need to kind of know typography and Adobe Illustrator was the software at the time, which I'd never opened in my life. So that was a funny first day, just because I remember my boss, Dave, was quite happy with me drawing the ideas out as a kind of intern and sharing those for someone who knew what the hell they were doing. But then having people around you who could help you learn the software, basically learning that on the job.
Invaluable, yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing, and a different way of coming at the design process as well, which is always quite healthy, isn't it?
Yeah.
But was there a point where it was kind of like, oh, this guy can draw, like we should get him?
I think over time, yeah, because I kind of wasn't sure when it was appropriate to add illustration into every single route you were doing. It was kind of like we could illustrate.
Just keep putting
everything.
it in there. And were you kind of emulating other styles that you'd seen at that point? Were you like, because I guess if you're an in-house illustrator, you've got to be fairly flexible in style. Were you moving around quite a lot?
Yeah, it was a lot of, an idea was on the table, and it was how to achieve it and kind of create a style that fit that brief. So it'd be, I don't know, a woodcut, a more graphic style, a more painterly style, and then that was where I kind of learned how to use a lot more of the tools, which was really helpful, because even in trying to achieve a certain look, you kind of pick up methods and ways of doing that, so that was really helpful.
I mean, it's worth noting that Design Bridge are a very, very good agency to land a first job with, and to be surrounded by that sort of caliber of creative people. That's a really, really good starting point.
Oh yeah, it was brilliant, just because everyone just knew what they were doing, and it was kind of like a really friendly, helpful environment.
Do you feel like being surrounded by those people every day helps sort of push you as well?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Try
Yeah,
harder.
yeah, definitely. It was also good for kind of unlearning that just illustrating one way, because you have to kind of work towards the job you're working on. So
because graphic design, you have to be way more varied in technique and style.
Yeah.
So by the time we kind of met with you, I think you said 2017, 2018. I mean, your work's changed since then, but I would say at that point that we met you, you had kind of decided upon a style. You had like a look and feel to your work. How did you arrive at that point? Was that like the product of all these projects you were doing for Design Bridge, and it was slowly taking shape, or was there one specific project where you started working in that style?
Yeah, because when I first spoke to you, it was a little bit different. The work was, I was kind of heading into like a more exaggerated form thing.
Yeah, with the characters. So there's two pieces that really stand out to me. First of all was the kind of illustrated typographic alphabet. Can you just describe that quickly?
Yes, that was the 36 days of type, which is like, I think, a brilliant, like, a whole load of people get involved with it, and also it's kind of like an exciting project that everyone was doing each day for 36 days. So took part in that, and then that, for some reason, like, just illustrated the letters, which turned out to be a great challenge to kind of have.
But it was those kind of hidden letter shapes within objects and clouds and all sorts, right?
Yeah.
Like daily scenes.
Yeah.
I mean, it just really, really stood out to me. And I've seen a few of those sort of creative alphabets. I remember there was a photographer that went around Brooklyn, and he found letter shapes in the gaps between buildings.
Oh, that's cool.
And created a whole alphabet that way. But it was just a very sort of creative approach, and it does feed back into that graphic design kind of looking at something as well. But then it was also your character work, and they were very long, kind of stretched body forms, weren't they?
Yeah, kind of exaggerated arms and legs and small heads.
Yeah,
and
like they've been shot with a wide-angled lens.
Yeah,
which was kind of a trend back then. I think, is it fair to say you were kind of following a trend when you were playing around with that?
I don't know what that kind of was, but it was definitely about that kind of extreme little heads and big legs.
Well, I just remember, like, I think myself and Tom saw your portfolio, and we both saw like huge potential. Yeah. But the one thing
I said
we felt was lacking. I think Tom, to be fair, said, it'd be great to see some some characters that are more in proportion, because often when you're working, especially with advertising agencies or on campaigns, people want to see an element of realism. They want to be able to kind of project and see themselves in that scene and picture themselves as the characters. And I think because of that, the characters in the scene have to look more realistic. So yeah, I remember having that conversation, and then I think you went away and came back with pretty quickly some reworked and some new stuff that was more kind of in proportion.
Yeah, I remember having that conversation, which really grateful for, because I think I was kind of, until doing the more exaggerated stuff, like after that doing the more proportioned figures and maybe more realistic, I think I was kind of didn't maybe feel comfortable or confident enough to do work that wasn't somewhat abstracted or like, you know, a little bit more extreme. But
and was it were you doing it because I wouldn't want to say you were hiding behind it, but was it easier to, rather than try and draw someone realistically, was it easier to draw someone exaggerated?
Yeah, I think that's it. It was kind of like, if it's got crazy proportions, you can't really be too wrong.
You can't, criticize it.
We've also seen this quite a few times. Illustrators will, I think some illustrators they feel like they have to kind of carve out a niche, as it were. You know, there has to be something unique to their characters. We've seen some that draw everyone with big ears, and all sorts of various things. Yours was the small heads.
Small heads.
And I think the feedback we always give is like, you know, that's cool to do that, but don't do that for every single illustration, because there will be an art director or a client who looks at it and goes, oh, I love it, but I don't want a small head or big ears. So being just to show that you can do both just shows you've got that flexibility.
I think clients are so literal, aren't they? Sometimes you have to really make things as realistic as possible, almost.
Yeah, I think it was really helpful advice, and it was also nice to be able to just accept that it doesn't have to always be, you know, exaggerated or something. Just because it made me look at stuff more, as in just how to create more realistic and relatable stuff.
But I think you then, what you did is you kind of replaced, because you kind of, I wouldn't say you abstract faces, but often you leave the face out, you obscure a face, you hide it, you simplify it. Is there a reason you do that? Like,
I suppose it's just because you then, as soon as you start adding eyes and, like, you know, mouths and expressions, it does get a little bit more, it gets a lot more expressive, but also it gets kind of easier to look, maybe tell a different message or something. Whereas if you kind of take the elements of the face away, you're kind of left to just see the figure as
draw your own conclusions.
Yeah.
I wondered if it was kind of so that you could put yourself in the scene, because you know, a lot of your illustrations are very kind of idyllic scenes that you would want to exist in, you'd like to be in, and by not having faces on characters, it's almost like, well, you can kind of picture that might be you.
Yeah, and also I think sometimes with certain jobs as well, you kind of want an ambiguity to the person, which can be really helpful. But yeah, that's an interesting way of thinking about it.
So at what point did you get, what point did you hand your notice in and be like, I'm off to do this full time?
That was, I think, just when work was picking up outside of work. So kind of, you know, that transitional period of.
And we were already working with you then? I've forgotten, or not?
Yes, I was at Design Bridge and then was doing illustration stuff, which they were really reasonable about on the side.
Side hustle.
Nice.
And then, took the final farewell.
What was that like?
It was scary. I think also just because you jump in without any understanding of how it's going to look or how it's going to work. But it was great because the first week or so it was off. So thanks to.
I remember sort of being very aware of your stuff on Behance. It used to come up a lot. Was that an important place for you to sort of help launch your career? Yeah,
I think the Behance website was really I think I jumped into it at a time where it had less going on there, but also did some work with Toby. So Toby.
Oh, of course, yeah,
Yeah.
I've got this. So Tobias Hall, who we also represent, he was working at ZZ's at the time. Is that right?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, and then he reached out and did some menus for them, and then they did a few of those with them, and then they got shared, and luckily you get featured on those websites, and then you kind of.
But Behance back then was I mean, it's sad it's not now, and it does still exist, right? But it used to be like the go-to place to find really inspiring work. Yeah, I'm not sure it's got.
I'm not sure what's kind of replaced that, if anything.
Well, Instagram.
Yeah, I guess social media is taking.
We need to go
over a
back to
little bit.
websites.
But yeah, yours was one of the profiles that used to continually come up.
Yeah.
Used to always show up, and I was very aware of your work being on there. I
And
just wondered if that turned into concrete jobs for you.
There was work on the Behance stuff, and also it just felt like it was a motivating place to keep sharing your work and knowing it was getting out to to eyes and stuff.
Yeah,
So-
but if you got a featured project, that was a really big deal.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and a lot of even the guys at Design Bridge and other agencies would look on there for illustration or photography and visualizers and stuff. So it's still going strong, I think, today on there.
Nice.
So one thing I was doing a little bit of research and trying to find some old interviews you've done. You've not done many, have you?
No.
So,
This is the thing with Charlie. I think you kind of you're just you keep yourself to yourself, like in a nice way, not a weird way, but it's just your work is unbelievably good. Like we have this thing where you share these initial sketches, and we see them and we share them internally, and it is just you get that wow factor.
Oh.
And you, with your work, you create not just one or two or three ideas. There's a PDF with like 10.
Yeah,
plus.
I'm always blown away by the amount of initial sketches that you send through.
But it's great that you're just this kind of quiet, humble guy that has this amazing talent.
Oh, that's very kind. Yeah, I think it's probably driven by fear and dread.
Oh, really? Nice.
But also, I think the options of ideas and stuff is kind of maybe from maybe a bit of the design background.
But you said to me before, but that's your favourite part of the project. The coming up with the initial concepts. And we've done a lot of projects together where the client has only wanted to commission, for example, one illustration, and then you send over multiple ideas, and then they say, actually, we've found some more money, and now we're going to commission more of these. Like that doesn't happen with most of the illustrators we work with. So that's a really great ability that you can do that. So I just want to say well done for that.
Yeah. It's a mixed thing about like sharing lots of ideas, isn't it? Like sometimes it's seen as not the best way to do it, but sometimes you get quite a lot out of it at that stage. And
I think some artists try things, they make the call on whether it works or not, and then they choose not to share it.
yeah,
Whereas you, I don't know if you're killing ideas as well, maybe you are, but you just seem to be more open to collaboration in that you're happy to share ideas and routes and kind of involve the client in that early stage.
Yeah.
And maybe that does come from your design background and the need to show options.
Yeah, and also I think when you start a job, there's kind of endless potential with
blank
it.
canvas.
It is, yeah, massive blank canvas, and you're kind of going into it with the excitement of how the hell is this going to turn out, and so that's a stage where you're kind of getting all those possibilities out. Then, not because I think I've never really said rarely said that's the immediate one. It's kind of like got to see how everything works, and then you can actually see what's working.
Yeah. Okay.
How are you? Because I think you're someone who works relatively quickly or can work relatively quickly. And one of the interviews I did find, you talk about deadlines, and you almost talk about them as in, it sounded like you prefer a shorter deadline because it allows you less time to think almost.
Yeah, I think that's true. if someone says you need this in 3 days or 2 days, or even the next, I've heard, chatting with people and they say you got 24 hours or something like that. I think it just cuts away your own doubt, or your filter just becomes very effective.
Just got to get it done.
Yeah, exactly. You just got to get it done, so you can end up with some of the best work.
I think that might be a graphic design thing as well.
Do you? Yeah.
It's just, that's the deadline. Sit down and get it done.
Yeah.
In terms of working schedule, what are you just a normal daytime, or are you pull all-nighters, or?
I've tried to act like I've got a normal schedule, but it's a bit bizarre. It's very, very early mornings. Like,
oh, really?
Kind of.
Oh, are you an early bird?
No, I mean.
Oh, late into the night.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So between like midnight and 3 is probably where most.
Is
of
that
it
your
is.
most productive time?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, that would kill me. Like, it gets to, I don't know, I'll be generous and say 10 o'clock, and I'm like, I remember when I used to work as a graphic designer, I'd be like, this is not, after 10 o'clock is not when I do my best work.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. And I just find it amazing. I mean, I live with someone who generally seems to sort of, their brain comes alive at sort of 11:30.
It's weird. I think that's the period where you're not worrying about any kind of anything else, because everyone's asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of,
Everyone leaves you alone.
yeah, kind of. Yeah. But there's no emails. There's no things you need to be doing at 2 a.m. other than getting your head stuck into the work.
And what are you listening to music? Do you have like a TV on? Like how do you like to work? What's the environment like?
It's a bit of music.
Yeah.
Speed Garage?
Depends on the deadline, doesn't it? Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, so working late into the night. Yeah, that kind of makes sense now when I think about the timings of some of the WeTransfer emails I get through from you.
Tim McDonough's the same. Like,
Is he? Yeah.
Yeah, he works through the night.
Yeah. It's quite lucky, really, because not having to be up in an office, it is quite a dangerous freedom, but yeah, very fortunate to be able to do it.
I have to ask though, now that you're fairly recently a dad.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
How's that going with working from, I mean, maybe it's good, you can just do the night shift.
Yeah, it's just find the time, do it when you can. Yeah. But again, with that sporadic pattern, I've never really found the order in terms of like wake up at 8, stick to it, go to bed at 10 or something like that. It's just been bizarre.
So what fills the rest of your day then?
It's a mix of trying to be active, trying to get out. I was doing a bit of running, but then that's fallen off. So yeah, go and get out. And
You go to the gym a lot, don't you?
Yeah, I try to. Yeah, I think it's good for the mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, exercise early in the day and then work later.
See, I've started doing the exercise late in the day now. Otherwise, I spend the whole day hungry. It's tricky.
You guys still running?
Yeah, I try and run a bit. I mean, I do try and get some exercise into some part of my day, most days, and I think it's really important for me in terms of my work pattern and just giving me some, like a physical release during the day.
Yeah, I think also when you've got a job that's quite static like that, it's kind of like you might do your best over a short period of time, but you got to get away from the
You've got to move,
screen.
Yeah, massively.
Well, we've got a little informal Handsome Frank running club occasionally going on a Wednesday here now.
Oh yeah.
So if you want to join,
I'll be half a kilometre behind.
I was going to say,
I'm selling a running buggy if you want to.
Oh yeah. I'll be sitting in it.
Do it.
Yeah.
Nice.
One of the things I did read about you is that Edward Hopper was a big influence. Have you seen many of his paintings in the flesh, in real life?
I haven't seen many of them in the flesh. It's just the he's a big inspiration in terms of like his subject and his use of light. Yeah,
light and angles.
Yeah, it's something about like those moments of people sat in cafes, bars.
Nighthawks.
Yeah, exactly. Something.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as you mentioned him, I'm like, oh yeah, I get the connection.
I think the difference for me though is a lot of Hopper's paintings, even if there's numerous people in them, the people always look a bit sad and lonely, which is kind of the opposite to your images. They always look very wholesome and, like I said before, like scenes that you'd like to be in.
Yeah.
So when you're drawing those scenes, what are your visual references? I know you, when we'll talk about this in a minute, but you draw on the tube quite a lot. Yes. Do you kind of need to, for example, if you were doing a cafe scene, would you go to a cafe, or what are those kind of visual cues that you need to draw with?
It's often just having either been in a certain space with like really beautiful windows, or an environment that is inspiring in that sense, or it's just photography and using reference there.
So ideally do you like to put yourself in the place in order to get inspired? Is it important for you to move around?
I think so. I think definitely your environment influences what you're creating a lot, because even if you go to a different town or you go away, your influences are very different. I've noticed that even moving to where I live now, like it's less bars and more like roundabouts.
I mean, it happens a lot when an illustrator creates some new work, and it's aligned with they've just been on holiday.
Yeah, taking a trip, or
it is that visual inspiration.
Yeah, it's quite good for doing your own self-initiated stuff as well. Because if you're ever stuck, just take the places you've been and then work off that.
Well, you've always been really good at that, and I'm not sure when you're working on them, but sometimes we'll be on a big project with a deadline, and you'll have loads of work to do, and then I see you've posted a self-initiated piece on Instagram. You seem to always find the time for that. Is that important to you?
Yeah, it is. I think it's also just quite a good break from having your head thinking about a specific brief. It's just to do something off your own back to kind of clear yourself a bit.
Yeah.
So drawing on the tube, how long have you done that for?
Done that for a while, yeah.
Is it a Moleskine, or?
It's on the iPad, which makes it even more creepy.
Have you had any? Have you had any strange reactions from people?
Yeah, I'd say
Positive or
80%
negative?
smiles, 10% grimace, and then the others just kind of confused. Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad that you had, because on Instagram you see these things now where it's like they just turn it into a whole thing where they've drawn someone and they go up and present it to them. I'm glad you haven't done that. But I presume you generally don't show the person the drawing?
No. I think sometimes you get people walking past and they'll give you a little smile, recognising who it is. But I think, it's a weird one, isn't it? It's a little bit intrusive, I guess, being drawn.
Yeah, I think.
But
I think living in cities, you just become a bit defensive. So it's like it is that you just kind of got your guard up. But yes, you haven't had any sort of go and get angry with you or anything like that.
No, not yet. I do make a real effort to look like I'm not drawing them as well.
Yeah,
just kind of
try and hide it, which probably makes it a bit creepier.
Yeah, kind of panicking, throwing your pencil in the air.
But it is. I think what you do really well is that kind of graphic depiction of people in regular places. So a lot of the scenes and the scenarios in your work are relatable. I think they're not hugely aspirational. You're not drawing situations that you can't imagine yourself being in. And I think that's what makes your work very relatable. Is that a conscious thing, or is that just you again just drawing what you know?
I think it is a little bit. Probably because there's something quite interesting about maybe less expected environments, or somewhere that's like if it's a strange corner of a place, but you can then romanticize it. Or
romantic's the word that comes to mind actually with your work. Like, I think your work is really romantic. It is about capturing little moments.
Yeah, for me I've used this word before, but filmic in terms
cinematic,
of cinematic. The angles that you choose to draw, it's, if you were filming, it would have that nice sort of wide angle, more of an interesting look at things. And then also clever use of light, like it was a film with it actually been professionally lit. Are you a film guy? I love cinema and films, but I never you don't think
really
that's
thought
a
about
direct
it
reference
as like a way of approaching the illustration. But I mean, I guess it's like compositionally, everything in a film's very considered, and I guess the same way you hope to achieve that with still image as well. So yeah. and then the lighting thing's just always something that adds that excitement to what may otherwise be.
Yeah, it's all. I mean, just looking at, we've got a piece up on the wall here, the Albany pub, but you always have quite dynamic lighting, and you kind of use the light to create graphic shapes. Is that fair? Is that how you see it?
Yeah, I think that simplified graphic element as well, but then trying to almost build into it from that. So yeah,
It's a way to add depth to what is a flat piece of work.
yeah.
So let's talk a little bit technically. Your process, do you do any pencil sketches anymore, or is it straight to drawing on an iPad now?
It's pretty much all on the tablet. Yeah,
All right, okay.
on the Cintiq.
Oh, so it's
laptop.
Cintiq, sorry, okay.
Yeah, just because of the familiarity of it, and then the different brushes and colour options you've got on there, which is just, as an efficiency thing, it's got the speed, I find, because if you're just making changes and you're trying out colour and shadows, it's just really effective for doing that quickly.
We have kind of jokes that when you come and work here, you've got your multi-plug, you got your laptop, your Cintiq. What other things do you plug in?
Yeah, our electricity bill's gone up, Charlie.
Yeah, it's not the most light setup, but
I mean, I think compared to a lot of other jobs, it's pretty good going.
yeah, oh yeah, for sure, in terms of being able to do everything.
Yeah.
from-
Have you tried the iPad?
Yes, yeah.
A fan or not?
I think I just haven't stuck with it enough.
Yeah.
I think
I think if you're a busy illustrator, anything or any kind of creative, like to go take that step back and be like, right, I've got to learn a new computer program. That's a hard step to do. But I mean, Toby's done it.
Yeah, some of our guys have.
Luke's done it. What's the new program that they use?
Procreate.
No. the
Oh
other one.
no, everyone's moved over to
What's it called? Affinity.
Thank you, Stuart.
Nice little plug for
Yeah,
Affinity
no, it's
there.
true. You occasionally see these sort of swings and people migrate to a new system. But like you say, Tom, it's like kind of taking time out of your career to learn a new way of working.
Yeah, people have done it really effectively. Like, I was worried the work looked different from a different tool, but it seems to be translatable.
Do you always use the same brushes? Do you have the sort of same go-to brushes?
I do, but about 5 years ago, I lost a preset that I was using for everything.
No.
Yeah, and
For everything.
yeah,
So
so I don't,
Photoshop
like-
preset.
yeah,
This is like the secret sauce.
How-
This is like
Yeah, see, because you can't. They're a bit fiddly to export, aren't they?
they are a bit, and I foolishly had them all there. And
Was
then
this
lost
on a
them.
dodgy version of Photoshop?
This is all legit.
all legit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then lost it, and then came back, couldn't find them again. But then that changed how everything was looking for a bit. So yeah.
Yeah, because I've heard, for example, photographers in Lightroom, it's a similar thing. You get used to your presets. You spend a lot of time creating them, but to then have to recreate what it is. I mean, it's in a way it can be a good thing because it pushes you to try something new.
Yeah,
But
definitely
must be
changes.
quite frustrating as well.
Yeah, I spent about 2 days trying to get the same brush stroke out of the thing. but-
And textures as well. Like, have you got a sort of standard texture library or?
I've got an Old Faithful, yeah. Yeah, it's basically just a folder full of a couple of bits. But
Is that your own ones or ones that you've downloaded?
I'm going to say they are my own, but they're a real
Yeah.
merge of bits and bobs.
Yeah, don't tell people what they are.
Don't give away the keys. So, at this point, you've worked with. I mean, we like we said, we've been working with you for 7 years. I would say you're probably one of our busiest illustrators. You seem to get a really good mix of work. You seem to be a really good fit for book covers, editorial, but you also get those kind of bigger branding and advertising jobs. Are there any particular projects that kind of stick out as favourites or ones that you have really enjoyed or were really happy to sort of tick off a bucket list?
Yeah, I always forget everything I've ever worked on when I talk about jobs. but
Your
then
mind goes blank.
Yeah, it goes completely blank. But the couple of bits for like the sporting events have been really exciting. Seeing those at the at the actual event and getting to go and see it large scale is always really exciting.
So was Wimbledon one of those? You did a...
I don't know if I could, I think it's all done, isn't it? It was the Queen's tournament.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Queen's Tennis, yeah.
And then I think anything that you get to see it out and about is always really exciting.
Yeah,
and
always.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a good one coming up because you've been working with TFL.
Yep.
Which is their
25
year anniversary. And it's a campaign that is going to be all over the tube as of next week. So that's exciting.
Yeah, I think it's end of January or something, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
So and it's 3 executions that you've worked on?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. 3 of those so far, but that's another one where it's just lovely to actually be able to wander around and see it out and about. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what was really nice about that campaign is that it was a really collaborative process. Like the agency VCCP came with some really strong concepts, and then you kind of made them your own and developed them, and like you always do, offered options. And we've ended up with 3 really nice images. So really looking forward to seeing those out.
Have they animated them as well?
I'm not sure actually.
Ooh.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and
Yeah,
see.
because so Petra did the hands.
Yeah, I
that
see
was-
those
Yeah,
all over the place,
That
yeah.
gets used so much, but then they animated it last year,
Yes.
and it was like, oh wow, that's really nice.
Yeah, I love TFL, one of my favourite clients, purely in terms of profile, because they just have so much real estate around London.
Yeah, a mate of mine's done loads of the signage for the stop walk.
Oh, who's
thing.
that?
Andrew Hudson did all the
Oh,
posts
okay.
for that.
Yeah.
But he was someone, again, he worked with him at Design Bridge, so
Yeah.
he's plastered around the tubes. So
Yeah.
it's just probably one of, especially if you live in London, it's probably one of the dream jobs in terms of seeing your bits. And
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's one that stands out for me. So excited to see that. We did put out a call for questions on Instagram. So I've got a couple of questions here from various
What's it
people.
gonna be?
It's terrifying.
So I've got a question from Luis Mendo,
Oh,
all the way from Tokyo. Hey, Lewis. We'd love to hear how Charlie chooses his colour palettes.
It's normally just having one background colour and then working off that. So
Okay, so you have a starting point.
yeah, but then there's also a bit of just playing around in terms of putting 2 or 3 colours down, and if they're harmonious or complementary, then you kind of
Do you do the bit where you kind of make 3 little colour swatches?
No, I don't.
Because a lot of people do that. So
Yeah.
they make like 3 little squares,
Yeah,
find 3 colours that sit together nicely, and then colour swatch and fill the illustration.
yeah, it makes sense.
But you don't do that.
No, I think that I speak to a couple of people about how they choose their colours for things. And a lot of people say they either find a palette of colours and go off the kind of colour wheel theory
Yeah,
side,
like Adobe Colour and all that.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, yeah.
which I think works a treat because you just end up stripping down the colour
Yeah.
palette.
Although I would say Adobe Colour, you look at it and they look amazing, and then you put it into the design or the illustration and it looks rubbish.
Really?
Yeah. So I think your way of just doing it by, I guess it's an instinct, right? You've developed an instinct for colour.
I guess over time you pick up on what's going to work and what's not.
Yeah.
But then it's also fun to play with colours that are going to be jarring or add something that might be a bit less expected.
I think you're also very good at working with a client's colour palette, though, and maybe that has led to you winning some of these bigger kind of brand projects. Specifically thinking about a project we did last year for a US financial client, and they had a very defined colour palette. And I think on the initial call, everyone was talking about how this was going to work and whether it would fit your style, but when the work came back, you really made this palette your own. So you're equally happy to work someone else's kind of dictated colours?
Yeah, so I think that sometimes helps actually, because you don't have to explore 15 colour options. You've got
take
something
choice
to
away.
Yeah, exactly. And it can be quite interesting to be forced into a different colour that you may not prefer yourself or use. So yeah,
I've asked others this, but have you had a colour palette where you're like, oh God, what am I going to do?
there's a
with
couple,
this?
yeah, that I just can't seem to get on with. But then I don't know what it's interesting really.
Well, it's a commercial challenge, isn't it?
Yeah,
Usually clients are aware if they've got a color palette that's challenging, and they'll kind of like, you know, fess up to it, won't they, and sort of say, you know, these are the colors, like, good luck.
But it goes back to the thing, like, you know, color palette that looks lovely in a brand guidelines doesn't always translate to being nice when you actually use it. Yeah, it's a tricky one. There's so many times where we've had brand guidelines and then they explain all the rules that they're happy to break with them.
Yeah, and sometimes you get it where they've got brand guidelines, but then there's like every colour under the sun in there. So
Yeah,
you kind of
I
think,
love that. Yeah, here are the secondary colours.
Yeah.
Oh, the entire
Yeah.
rainbow. Do you have a rule for the number of colours in an image?
Not like strict, but I think the limiting it definitely makes it easier for it to feel more tied together. I think when you start getting maybe like 5 colours going on, it can, unless you're a kind of crazy expressive colourful illustrator, it can make a scene feel a little bit too much.
But you tend to do that thing, like, for example, you'll pick a blue and then you'll take tints of a blue, so a lighter blue and a darker blue, and then add a contrasting colour in.
I think that's why your work is so effective as when it's printed as well as like artwork for, you know, around the house, because you do tend to have that really nice colour palette that can work with a room, can work with the decor in that room. Do you sell a lot of prints? Is that?
I tried doing it myself, but it was a little bit of a logistical struggle. So I actually, big hello and shout out to Charles in Paris, who sells the prints at his shop.
Oh yeah. That's a nice trick to string to your bow. Right, another question. So slightly different. What's your favourite dinosaur?
That's a fantastic question. I think.
Who was it from?
I'm trying to find it now. Who's the question
Who's
from?
your favourite dinosaur?
Who or what?
Yeah,
What was his name? I'm going to say the one that spits the oil in your face and has the big fan head.
Oh, We're going to Jurassic Park.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what it's called, but sure.
Oh, what?
Thanks, Stuart. I came into the office.
Pub quiz with Stuart randomly answering things.
I came into the office a few weeks ago, and Stuart was watching Jurassic Park on his own.
Oh wow!
So big fan. Okay, another question. Tell us about your first big commission. What was the kind of, you know, first?
And I want to know, was that a big commission at Design Bridge or when you were freelance?
I can't pin it down to what it was.
Okay.
I want to say the thing with Toby, the ZZ things, maybe.
Oh, the
for me.
ZZ menus. Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
But then there were a couple of bits after that as well. But yeah, it's really boring. I can't remember
That's
that
fine.
exact weapon.
It's like when someone asks you what you got for Christmas, it just, your mind goes blank.
Socks, yeah.
Yeah, easy.
Question all the way from Luke McConkey in Liverpool.
Hi, Luke.
What are Charlie's thoughts on automated cleaning robots?
Okay, this is an in-joke.
That's to do with a.
Well, you had a slight falling out with our robot vacuum cleaner at the Christmas party.
It was a bit.
Do you
Leave it at
remember?
that?
Yeah, yeah.
So it for the. Oh, we can't not explain it. So we're sat at what do we call it? HFHQ, our office in Farringdon, and we have a little robot Hoover, which pretty much every day comes out and ends up stuck somewhere. Stuart rescued it.
I had to rescue it this morning. It was stuck
Where
under
was
the
it?
chairs. Yeah,
The other day it got tangled up with a shoelace from my trainer.
and it has smashed prints as well.
It had, it's knocked over. It's a bit like having a naughty toddler in the house. But at the summer drinks, I think basically a lot of drunk illustrators were very excited about seeing the
When it came out to play,
the robot Hoover. Yes, so we allowed it to come out, and there's some videos that will never ever be shared on the internet of people haranguing it. And I'm just going to point out the splattered Magnum that's on the wall there, that from our Christmas party. And again, that's Luke McConkey, who it gets to the point in the evening where he just pops around the corner and buys a load of Magnums. This is usually around 1 or 2 a.m. It's good. It's a nice community that we've created of illustrators that have Magnums at 2 a.m. But yeah, that explains that
that
one.
explains the question. So Charlie, what's next for you then? What are you working on? Anything you can tell us about?
Oh, well,
No, it's all NDA.
yeah, it's just a couple of bits that are under NDA, isn't it? But yeah,
Is there something you're desperate to do that you haven't done? Dream
there's a
project?
couple of bits. But I think love to do something for the Olympics,
Oh yes.
and then
Where is it next? Not sure.
Next Olympics, I don't know actually.
just said that and don't know when the next Olympics is. Yeah,
Well, yeah.
Have you done any? I'm sure I've seen some Olympic inspired work from you,
yeah. Trying to,
because it's the kind of thing you have to put out there
yeah.
to be in the runnings for that. I mean, we did a few nice Olympic projects last year,
Yeah.
but yeah, not with you yet.
But yeah,
Well, that's one to add to the list then.
yeah, I feel quite lucky to have been able to do what I've been doing. So
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for coming in. Really nice to sit down and have a proper chat. And yeah, looking forward to seeing that TFL work out there. And yeah, hopefully finding some big projects and maybe landing something for the Olympics.
awesome. Yeah, lovely chatting.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Charlie.
And if you'd like to know more about Handsome Frank and our artists, check out our website, handsomefrank.com.
Thanks very much for listening.
Handsome Frank.
It's a nice community that we've created of illustrators that have magnums at 2 a.m.